There is a quiet behavior that is judged almost instantly, often without a single word being spoken. Someone looks away. Their eyes drop. They glance to the side while listening, and before anything meaningful has even happened, assumptions are made. They're insecure, they're lying, they're uninterested, they're socially awkward, they're hiding something. Eye contact in many cultures is treated as a shortcut to character, and people who struggle to maintain it are often misunderstood in ways that go far deeper than anyone realizes. The psychology of people who can't make eye contact has very little to do with dishonesty or weakness. In fact, for many of them, the difficulty with eye contact is not social at all. It is neurological, emotional, and deeply tied to how their nervous system processes information, intimacy, and stimulation. Eye contact is not neutral. It is one of the most intense forms of human connection. When two people lock eyes, enormous amounts of information are exchanged in milliseconds. Emotion, intention, dominance, vulnerability, curiosity, threat, interest. For some nervous systems, that intensity is grounding. For others, it is overwhelming. People who struggle with eye contact often experience it as too much, too fast. One of the first things to understand is that eye contact is not just visual, it is emotional exposure. Looking into someone's eyes is one of the quickest ways to feel seen, and being seen is not always safe. For many people, especially those who are highly sensitive, introspective, or emotionally attuned, eye contact bypasses intellectual filters and goes straight to the nervous system. It's not that they don't want connection, it's that connection arrives all at once. When someone avoids eye contact, they are often regulating intensity, not avoiding interaction. Looking away lowers stimulation. It creates emotional distance. It allows them to stay present without becoming overwhelmed. In that sense, gaze aversion is not withdrawal, it is self-regulation. Another key psychological factor is internal processing. Many people who can't maintain eye contact are processing deeply while listening. Their attention turns inward. They are thinking, integrating, reflecting. Eye contact pulls attention outward. It competes with thought. For them, looking away is not disengagement. It's concentration. You can often see this when someone looks away while answering a complex question. Their eyes move not because they're avoiding you, but because they're accessing internal information. Looking inward requires looking away. This is why many people who struggle with eye contact are actually very good listeners. They remember details. They understand nuance. They just don't look like they're listening in the way others expect. Another powerful layer is emotional sensitivity. For emotionally attuned individuals, eye contact amplifies emotion. They feel the other person's mood, tension, or expectations more intensely through gaze. Holding eye contact means absorbing that emotional data continuously. That can be exhausting. So they break eye contact not out of rudeness, but out of self-preservation. There is also a strong link between eye contact difficulty and empathy. People who are highly empathetic often struggle with prolonged eye contact because it opens emotional channels they can't easily close. They don't just see you, they feel you. Looking away gives them space to stay grounded. This is deeply counterintuitive because society often assumes the opposite, that people who avoid eye contact are disconnected or uncaring. In reality, many are caring too much. Another misunderstood aspect is anxiety, but not in the simplistic sense. Eye contact can trigger physiological anxiety responses even in people who are otherwise confident and socially capable. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, breathing changes. The body interprets sustained gaze as high-stakes interaction. For some nervous systems, especially those shaped by unpredictability, criticism, or emotional volatility earlier in life, eye contact became associated with evaluation or threat. Someone looking at you meant something was about to happen, a judgment, a correction, a demand. Over time, the body learned to associate gaze with danger. Avoiding eye contact then becomes automatic, not a choice, a reflex. It's important to understand that this reflex can exist even when the person consciously knows they are safe. The nervous system does not update through logic alone. It updates through repeated experiences of safety. Until then, The body reacts faster than thought. Another layer involves self-consciousness, but again, not in the shallow sense. People who struggle with eye contact are often highly aware of themselves, too aware. They notice their own facial expressions, micro movements, and reactions. Holding eye contact makes that awareness louder. They worry about what their face is doing. They worry about what the other person is seeing. They worry about being misread. That hyper-awareness pulls attention away from the conversation itself. Looking away quiets that internal noise. Another psychological truth is that eye contact collapses distance too quickly for some people. It creates intimacy instantly, even when emotional intimacy has not yet been established. For people who prefer gradual connection, this feels intrusive. They may be very open once trust is built, but early or sustained eye contact feels like skipping steps, so they pace it. There is also a cultural and developmental component. Not all cultures treat eye contact the same way. In some, direct eye contact is seen as disrespectful or aggressive. In others, it's required. People who grew up navigating mixed expectations may develop inconsistent gaze patterns as a way of avoiding conflict. But even within the same culture, individual differences matter more than rules. Another important factor is cognitive load. Eye contact requires processing facial expressions, microsignals, and emotional cues in real time. For people who already process a lot internally, this extra input can overload working memory. So they reduce input. They look away. This is especially common in neurodivergent individuals, but it also appears in highly analytical or introspective people. Eye contact competes with thinking. Looking away frees cognitive resources. Another misunderstood aspect is that many people who avoid eye contact are actually deeply present in conversation. They are listening with their whole body. They just don't signal it visually. Society has learned to equate eye contact with attention, but attention has many forms. Silence can be attention. Stillness can be attention. Looking away can be attention. Another psychological layer involves vulnerability. Eye contact exposes emotion. It reveals uncertainty, interest, fear, attraction. For people who guard their inner world carefully, sustained eye contact feels like emotional nakedness. They may be open in writing, open in thought, open in private, but not through gaze. Avoiding eye contact then becomes a boundary, not a flaw. There is also a power dynamic embedded in eye contact. Gaze can assert dominance or submission. Some people are deeply uncomfortable with these unspoken dynamics. They don't want to play power games. Looking away neutralizes the field. This is especially true in hierarchical settings, meetings, authority figures, evaluative situations. Eye contact feels like exposure to judgment. Looking away feels safer. Another thing rarely acknowledged is that eye contact can intensify self-criticism. People who are hard on themselves feel more visible under gaze. They imagine flaws being noticed, micro-reactions being judged, silence becoming awkward. Looking away reduces that internal pressure. Importantly, many people who struggle with eye contact are not socially inexperienced. They may be articulate, intelligent, and capable. They simply have a nervous system that prioritizes regulation over display. The problem arises because society reads gaze behavior as moral signal. We treat eye contact as proof of honesty, confidence, and respect. This creates shame for people whose bodies don't cooperate. They're told to just look people in the eye, as if it were a simple choice. It's not. Eye contact difficulty is not a character issue. It is a nervous system strategy. If you recognize yourself in this, it's important to hear that clearly. You are not broken. You are not deceptive. You are not weak. Your system has learned how to manage intensity in a way that works for you. Another critical aspect of eye contact avoidance is how closely it is tied to identity formation. For many people, especially those who grew up feeling observed, judged, or evaluated, being looked at became associated with performance. Someone watching you meant you were expected to behave correctly, respond appropriately, or meet an unspoken standard. Over time, the eyes of others stopped feeling neutral and started feeling demanding. So looking away became relief. This is why some people can make eye contact briefly but not sustain it. Short glances feel manageable. Prolonged gaze feels like pressure. It's not the interaction they're avoiding. It's the sense of being assessed in real time. There is also an important developmental factor. Eye contact is one of the earliest forms of communication. Infants regulate safety, attention, and connection through gaze with caregivers. When early caregiving is inconsistent, overwhelming, or intrusive, gaze can become dysregulated. Too much eye contact feels invasive. Too little feels disconnecting. The system never fully settles into a comfortable middle. Later in life, this shows up as gaze aversion, not because the person doesn't want connection, but because connection never felt reliably safe. Another layer is emotional honesty. Many people who struggle with eye contact are extremely transparent emotionally. Their faces reveal what they feel. They don't have strong masks. Eye contact exposes that transparency. Looking away allows them to maintain privacy over their internal state. This is why some people avoid eye contact when they're experiencing strong emotion: sadness, anger, attraction, shame. Their face gives them away, and they know it. Looking away is containment. There is also a strong link between eye contact difficulty and introspection. Introspective people spend a lot of time inside their own minds. Their attention naturally turns inward. Eye contact pulls attention outward. Holding both at once can feel disorienting, so they alternate. Look, process. Look away, think. To someone unfamiliar with this rhythm, it looks like avoidance. In reality, it's integration. Another psychological factor is that eye contact collapses emotional boundaries. When someone looks at you directly, it invites response, reaction, engagement. For people who prefer control over when and how they engage, this immediacy feels intrusive. Looking away creates a buffer. This buffer is especially important for people who are sensitive to others' expectations. Eye contact can feel like an invitation to perform socially, to smile, nod, reassure, or respond emotionally. When capacity is low, looking away is the only way to decline without confrontation. Another dimension is the relationship between eye contact and vulnerability. Eye contact is intimate. It's revealing. It creates a shared emotional field. For people who guard vulnerability carefully, that intimacy arrives too quickly. They may crave deep connection, but only after trust is established. Eye contact skips that process. It jumps straight to exposure, so they pace it. This is why many people who struggle with eye contact are more comfortable in side-by-side conversations, walking, driving, working together. The reduced gaze allows connection without overwhelming exposure. They can talk freely when they're not being looked at directly. This preference is telling. Another misunderstood aspect is dishonesty. Avoiding eye contact is often wrongly associated with lying. In reality, many people who avoid eye contact do so precisely because they are honest. They don't want to perform confidence or certainty they don't feel. They don't want to mislead with a steady gaze. Looking away feels more truthful. There is also a sensory component. Eyes are sensitive organs. For some people, sustained visual focus on faces is physically uncomfortable. Bright lights, facial movement, micro-expressions. It's a lot to process. Looking away reduces sensory load. This is especially common in people who are neurologically sensitive, but it's not limited to them. Another important psychological truth is that people who struggle with eye contact often compensate in other ways. They listen intently. They ask thoughtful questions. They remember details. They show care through actions rather than gaze. Their engagement is real. It just looks different. The real damage happens when eye contact avoidance is interpreted as a moral failure. When people are told they are rude, dishonest, or weak because their bodies don't behave a certain way. That judgment creates shame, and shame makes eye contact even harder. Shame tightens the nervous system. Tightness increases avoidance. The cycle reinforces itself. Many people who struggle with eye contact become hyper-aware of it. They monitor themselves constantly. Am I looking too little? Am I staring? This is awkward. That self-monitoring pulls attention away from the conversation and into anxiety. Looking away becomes relief from self-surveillance.
Connection varies.
Another aspect is power imbalance. Eye contact with authority figures often feels harder. Bosses, teachers, evaluators, anyone who has power to judge or decide outcomes. The gaze feels loaded. Looking away reduces perceived threat. This doesn't mean the person lacks confidence. It means they are sensitive to hierarchy and evaluation. Another layer is emotional safety in relationships. Many people who avoid eye contact are more comfortable once trust is built. Over time, gaze avoidance often decreases naturally. The nervous system learns that looking is safe here. This is why forcing eye contact is counterproductive. Safety doesn't come from command. It comes from experience. People often say, just practice eye contact. But practice without safety is exposure, not healing. And exposure without choice can backfire. Understanding this shifts how we respond to ourselves and others. If you are someone who struggles with eye contact, the most important thing to understand is this. Your difficulty is not a failure to connect. It is a way of connecting that prioritizes regulation over display. You are not avoiding people. You are managing intensity. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to understand yourself. Understanding allows flexibility. Flexibility allows choice. Choice allows growth. Over time, many people find that eye contact becomes easier in environments where they feel respected, unjudged, and unpressured. When the nervous system relaxes, the eyes follow. Eye contact is not a skill to be forced. It is a signal of safety, and safety cannot be rushed. The psychology of people who can't make eye contact reveals something important about human connection. Not all connection looks the same. Not all presence is visible. And not all avoidance is rejection. Sometimes looking away is the only way someone can stay present. You are not less engaged because you don't hold eye contact. You are not less honest because you look away. You are not less confident because your eyes need breaks. You are responding intelligently to how your system processes closeness. And once that is understood, shame loosens, pressure eases, and connection becomes possible on your terms.